Hello, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new to my channel, I'm silly. So today I want to talk about my 21-day challenge. So if you're new and you don't know anything about my channel or my challenge, then I wanted to say this. I'm working on me. Plain and simple. And hope that you want to work on you. And if you do, you're in the right place because we're doing a 21-day vulnerability challenge. And I'm doing that because I want to take this time at the beginning of the year to step into some different places that I either had fear of stepping into or I simply it's just time to grow, right? So I don't do New Year's resolutions, but what I do is I look at my life and reevaluate where I am and where I would like to be. And so I decided to do this 21-day vulnerability challenge for a couple reasons. So I've been doing YouTube for about 8 months now, and consistency has not always been my thing. It just hasn't been. So I'm trying to push myself to just keep showing up in spaces and places where I've never been one to give up, but if it just is not working for me, I'm over it. I'm over it. I'm a life path 3, so I'm creative, very woo woo, all over the place. But at the same time, I have direction and focus. But the Gemini in me, she don't always I like to play in different playgrounds. I don't want to always do the same thing consistently. And so I have been consistent for the last 8 months, but I wanted to see how far I could push myself. And I'm gonna tell y'all right now, it's been challenging. It's challenging because like now I have to force myself to do a video every day. And I'm like, what are we talking about? 21 days. What were you thinking, child? But I'm here and I'm still here and I'm still showing up and I'm still and actually like this topic because, you know, sometimes it's not easy to be vulnerable. That's why people don't want to be vulnerable. They don't want to put themselves out there. They don't want to challenge themselves. They like, maintaining the status quo. I've never really been that person. However, I'm putting myself out here. I'm challenging the status quo. I'm showing up, not for me, but for you, because I committed to doing this and I'm going to finish it and follow through. But more importantly, I just think it's a great topic because oftentimes we don't get what we want because we're not willing to look ourselves in the mirror. And when you're being vulnerable and authentic, you definitely need to look yourself in the mirror and you definitely need to identify what it is that's holding you back. So let's get at it. Let's do this thing. So again, welcome back. This is day 5 of my 21-day challenge. And I've talked about shrinking, I've talked about pretending. Now, let's talk about how to stop hiding and start showing up. Okay, so we talked about the shrinking, we talked about just being vulnerable, we've talked about why we pretend. So let's talk about why we hide. Okay, we hide for many reasons. Again, they're very similar to why you shrink back and why you pretend. The reason why you hide behind these masks and you stop showing up as your authentic self is because you fear judgment, you feel failure, you feel that you're unworthy, you lack confidence, you feel like you're not enough, you feel that okay, someone's going to reject me, criticize me, all the whole gamut, right? We all have felt this way at some point in time. And if I'm gonna be honest, um, I had a learning disability as a child, right? So oftentimes, even now, I'll say the wrong word, like, or like it's not pronounced correctly. Um, but I had a learning disability as a child, and it was like slightly dyslexic. It was comprehension, a couple different things all rolled into one. I was hella intelligent and still am, still am. Um, and I just had to deal with things differently. But what I learned was like, okay, I want to do something, and I'm not going to allow somebody else's labels. And I had the perfect mother for this, right? My mother had bipolar disorders, but my mother, like, she was the saint when it came to like advocating for me, and she would just sit me down, and half of the reason why I'm partially woo woo to this day is that she sat me down and was like, listen, do you believe that? Have you decided that that's what your labels are going to be? Because if it's not, you're going to have to move in a different direction and look at whatever it is that you want. Face it, head on and move forward. You are not a label that somebody gives you, and you are highly intelligent. And so once my mama gave me permission to be intelligent, I was like, child bad. And I went to my teacher in fifth grade or sixth grade, and I said, listen, I'm not going to a special education class in junior high because I don't want nobody labeling me. I don't want to sit in the class with those people because those aren't my people. And I'm not judging, but those aren't my people. And I'm gonna show up fully as myself, right? And my teacher looked at me. She said, I think you're highly intelligent. You're capable." Just like, but these are some things that you're going to need to do so that you're prepared, because I don't want to place you in a situation where you're going to fail. And so I had some time and an opportunity to just look at my where I was in the educational process and really just take some initiative. And I'm going to be honest, it was difficult at first. Matter of fact, when I got my first English class, because it was really around English, like math and all that, I was pretty good at. So, I got my first English class, and we literally had to read a whole book and have an essay by the end of the week. I was like, because what happened at that time is when I would start reading, my my whole being would drift into La La Land. And I forgot what I was reading. And I had to bring myself back. And so just imagine, you want me to read this whole book at this time because I'm not even here. So like I literally had to really get focused. And I couldn't at that point I couldn't read a whole book. Not in a week. It wasn't it wasn't happening because I had to literally start the book over so many times. It wasn't happening. And so what I did is I told myself, I made a commitment with myself. I said, listen, I'll read the first part of this book and I'm gonna read the last part of the book. And I'm gonna write my paper so that it's due on Friday. I'm gonna turn it in. And over the weekend, then I'm gonna commit to finishing, or it didn't have to be finished that weekend. I gave myself time, like, but my whole commitment was to finish the book. And what I found was that my imagination was amazing and I was a great writer. And so taking the ends and the beginning, or the beginning and the ends of a book, and putting it together, I was on point. And so and then as I kept reading and kept pushing myself and making myself finish the book, then I started getting better, right? And then to the point where I could just knock out books like it was nothing. And that that made me show up. And so that was my first experience in like I'm not shrinking back. I'm not going to hide. I am about to show up. But my reasoning, my why. It's important you have a why. My why was because I did not want to be judged. I did not want to be placed. I did not want you to give me a label for who I am. You're not going to define me. And so, in that particular moment and at that particular time in my life, I realized that me showing up gave me the opportunity to take my power back and to write my own script. No one was going to write this for me. And this is imperative if you are owning who you are, standing in your truth, and moving forward. Nobody can take anything from you if you already define you. Now, when you don't define you, you give people an option and an opportunity to come in and tell you who you are because you're not clear. So it's easy for people to say, oh, you're this. Oh, you're that. Oh, you're not ready. And at that particular point, I may not have been ready. I was ready for the challenge, though. I may not have been, like I remember sitting in that English class thinking to myself, I'll go back to the special ed class because I don't want to do this because I knew it was a challenge. But once I got my mind ready and said, you know what, you can go back or you can stand in your truth. You can define who you are and you can move forward. And from that particular point, you couldn't even stop me. And I then enrolled in debate and became a beast. I then started taking AP classes, and that whole person that they said needed to be in special ed didn't need to be in special ed. And so, yes, you do fear judgment and unworthiness and being rejected, but that's because you are hiding. And when you stand up in your truth, and this is the one thing I learned in life, if you expose you versus allowing other people to expose you. Prime example, let's say you did something, you was wrong. If you wait for somebody else to find out you was wrong, that them exposing you is worse than you saying, you know what? Because if you say, look, did it, I'm responsible. Hey, it is what it is. And I apologize. I'm sincerely, you know, not trying to make an excuse for anything, but this is what it was. What they gonna do? You already told on yourself. So I honestly believe at any point in my life, if there was something that you thought you had on me, put it out there. Why? Because number one, I own my truth. It's my story to tell. It's not your story to tell. And furthermore, you can't hurt me with my information. You can hurt me with misinformation. You can hurt me with some other but you can't hurt me with something I've already dealt with. I've already looked myself in the mirror and said, okay, this is what it is. You can't hurt me. There's nothing that you can do. So I think it's imperative, extremely important for you to just say, okay, I'm dealing with this. It's my story to tell. That way you are in the driver's seat and you're not lending any information and allowing people to run the gamut on a story that is yours. And I really believe that. So now let's talk about the consequences of hiding. When you hide, you shrink, you put on masks, when you do any of these things, number one, nobody ever gets to know you. Nobody ever gets to know how talented you are, what skills and what talents you can bring to the table. Nobody knows who you are. So You leave us bamboozled and led astray because you are too fearful to show up and be you. The other consequence is that if you hide and you truly have a testimony or um, a story to tell, or you've gone through something that can help somebody, you leave somebody who could resonate with you out there on their own because they're looking for that person they can connect with. They're looking for their tribe, but you're hiding. So there's so many different reasons to hide, but the consequences of hiding outweigh that. You know, you can't be the best version of somebody else. And I've said that day in and day out over the last 5 days. You cannot be the best version of somebody else. We want to know you. We want to know what makes you tick. We want to know how we can connect with you. And if you never show us that, then what we're going to do? The other consequence of you hiding is for every day that you don't show up as yourself, a little bit of you dies. I'm going to say that again. For every day that you do not show up in as your authentic self and give the world a piece of who you are, something dies. And for me, I'll never forget. I used to listen to Wayne Dyer when he was living, and I remember him saying something about "Don't die with your music still in you," and that resonated to the core of who I am because all I could think about is if I died today, would people know who I was? Would I have a body of work that resonated with somebody? Would I die with the best parts of who I am still in me? And if that is the case, that's a waste. So when you hide from the world and don't show who you are, and you don't step up and give us something, then a little bit dies inside of you each and every day. And then if lo and behold you pass, you haven't lived. Nobody knew who you really were. You didn't shoot your shot. You cannot win a game if you never shoot the shot. If you never show up to the damn game, how can you win? We don't know you. You're still hiding. You keeping the best parts of you hidden. How is that helping serve humanity? It's not. It's so not. So the consequences are very damaging when you start thinking about death and start thinking about life and how much of your life you have kept hidden versus sharing and letting it go. So, what we want to do is step out of our comfort zones this year, and that's difficult. But what I want you to do now is I want you to make sure that you go down to the comments and I want you to comment and say, why are you hiding? Tell us why you're hiding. Let's have a discussion about this because I know if you're listening to this and you're still here, you're struggling with being real and authentic and showing up and being vulnerable. And this is the year for you to tap into who you are. But for you to do that, you have to be honest about where you are and who you are. And so please go ahead and let's start this conversation. Put a comment down. Also, if you didn't know, in the description, there are some worksheets to help you step into being it's a playbook for being authentic. And so these workbooks or it's the worksheets, it will give you journal prompts, it will give you affirmations. You can create a whole meditation around the affirmations. And let's just stop thinking we got to do it by ourselves. Like the worksheets will help you follow along with each day, but more importantly, you can have your own journal of your thoughts about where you are in this process of stepping into your authentic self and being vulnerable. So make sure you get the worksheets and continue to comment and let's have a discussion. So, here are some steps to help you show up. First of all, let's name stuff. I like naming stuff. Name stuff. What are you fearful of? So, I want you to acknowledge your fears. Okay. The first step in recognizing your fear is to understand it's normal to have fears, but fear is false evidence appearing real. Okay. Half of the time, your fears are not warranted because they're not real. If you do something that you've never done before, yes, it's a little scary at first, but that is not going to kill you. So if you push through that, what you will most often say at the end is, was easy. I was all scared for nothing. It be like that. So it's being human to have apprehensions or fears around something. But remember that fear is false evidence appearing real. Half the time it's not even real. So push through that. Start small. Increments. I've been saying this day after day. Increments. You don't have to conquer Rome in one day. What you need to do is take it and say, you know what? Today I'm going to push myself a little bit further than I did yesterday. Tomorrow I'm going to push myself a little bit further than I did yesterday. And eventually you're going to get through a whole week as I have. I've gotten through a whole I've gotten through a whole work week. Look, we're going to take all our wins. We're going to take all our wins. And which brings me to my next thing. Celebrate your wins. Baby, we got here. We kept pushing. Look what we did. Showed up. It's a win. And I'm gonna take my wins however I get them. Because at the end of the day, everything that you do to move forward and push yourself beyond where you were yesterday, that is a win because you've accomplished something. And at the end of the day, you're moving towards your goal. And consistency is key. Again, I struggle with consistency, but whenever I have looked at the wins that I've had in my life, it was because I continued to show up. And what I don't like losing. I'm very competitive. And so whenever it's like, okay, this is my goal, baby, I'm accomplishing that. And there is no turning back. There are moments where I want to stop, but she don't give up. We not doing that. We're gonna keep it going. So look, we're gonna get these 21 days, hell or high water, and that's what we're gonna do. Also, use affirmations because when you, number one, if you write out your own affirmations or you rewrite an affirmation, you're not only seeing it, but you're embedding it in your mind because you're writing it as well. Showing up means that you're fully present in this moment. You're not thinking about yesterday, you're not thinking about tomorrow, you're thinking about right now. And that's the only time that we really have is this moment now. Yesterday's gone, tomorrow hasn't even come, and you can rewrite tomorrow right now by the things that you do. So be intentional about how you show up and be present in every moment and start to think about those thoughts because we all have them. They're going through our head like you're telling yourself, "No, I can't do this," or you don't have to show up today. Nope. Check those thoughts. Rewrite the thoughts. You're rewiring how you think as you go forward. So those are the tips that I would give you now for stop hiding, show up, be intentional, and own your story. It's yours. It's not someone else's to tell. It's your story to tell. It, you know, and people can judge whatever they want to. And I said this the other day, and I live by this. What you think about me is none of my business. That's between you and your God. I don't care because at the end of the day, you don't even know me well enough. I live with me every day. I got an intimate relationship with me. I don't know what you got. But you thinking about what I'm doing, baby, I don't have time to worry about what that is. Like why are you doing that? I don't even understand. So in that space, I own everything because I don't care. Your opinion doesn't matter to me because that's yours. What I know about me is these things. And I move forward with what I know about me. I'm not concerned about what other people are thinking. And I take my power back in that because I'm not concerned. I don't have time for that. And every time you stop and start worrying about what other people are doing and why they feel like they should keep your name in, am I that important to you? You got to keep my name in. Why are we doing this? Like, and if you got that kind of time, you go right ahead. Because, like I said, I'm not dying with my story in me, so I got work to do. I don't have time to be thinking about what you doing and why you doing it, and how you doing it. So, I want to leave you with these things. Like, nobody can do what you do. Nobody has been gifted with the abilities, talents, and skills that you have. What is for you is for you. I cannot play the best version of you. I am not an actress. I'm not. And even if I were, I can only play you for a short amount of time, but I can never become you. People are waiting for you to show up, for you to give us the best version of who you are. It's not time to shrink back or play small. It's time to stand up and play big. This is your moment. This is your time. And we're waiting for you. I hope that you continue to go along this journey with me. We got to day 5. Yeah. Listen, baby. I'm doing the work, okay? And this is part of me being vulnerable. This is part of me sharing in a journey with somebody else. It's not easy for me to have to commit to doing this every day. Part of me just wants to sit down and knock out 21 videos just like changing clothes. I really do. And I just like want to just knock it out that way to be done. However, there are things that come to me every morning about what I want to talk about and how I'm going to be a little bit more vulnerable. And so, again, this is not a journey that you're on by yourself. We're on this 21-day challenge. And it doesn't matter when you join the 21-day challenge. Go back and look at the other videos. Um, in the link, there's a link in the description that takes you to the playlist. So again, make sure you put some comments down. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this video and put a notification on so that you know when we're going to be talking about vulnerability each day. And so I want to thank you for joining the journey. I want to thank you for staying present. And if you do nothing else, love yourself. Until tomorrow, I'm Cha. Bye bye.